Senator Billick. Senator Roberts.
Madam Acting Deputy President, as a servant to the people of Queensland and Australia, I just want to lay bare this window dressing. The more we tax and regulate things, the less we actually get of them. Someone has to pay a tax for this subsidy to work. I can speak on the benefits of an internship from my own son when he was 21 years of age, and he took the initiative to get an internship in the United States in a field that he'd done some study in but not actually worked. And because of that 6-month study and the success that he gave that company, a few months later they offered him a full-time job at a very, very good salary for someone with his qualifications. So I get the concept of an internship. But what we need to understand here is that this is simply a subsidy to make work and not a fulfilling job. My son, Shane, had a very fulfilling job, and he went to work and did real work every day. Taxation, though, is killing employment in this country. So let's get away from the window dressing and get to the core issues that we face. Our constituents in Queensland and listening across Australia repeat this same comment. Taxation is killing employment. Why do we tax payroll? We all know in this country that when we tax something, we decrease its use. So why are we taxing payroll? It's bizarre. I had a meeting with Dave Oliver, head of the ACTU. Seems like a nice bloke. We went around the room talking, and I asked him why, what his main themes were, and he was talking about compliance and raising wages. And I asked him, in all sincerity, is he aware of what happens when a person gets an increase in take-home pay, that it requires an even greater increase in gross pay, and that combined with regulations is driving employment down. Now, that's not to say people don't deserve higher incomes, but they must be earned in a way that increases productivity, and the taxation system is killing productivity in this country. Every time Dave Oliver is successful in getting a gross pay raise, it kills a job if there's not the matching productivity, and the taxation system makes it very, very difficult for people to be productive. We have fine workers in this country. I know from my own experience, being an underground coal miner, being an open-cut coal miner, managing people in this country and overseas, that our workers are among the best in the world, very committed, a lot of initiative, and take great pride in their work. But when the taxation is killing their employer, it's difficult to sustain work. I'm wondering what will be taxed next. PAYE tax killing jobs, payroll tax killing jobs. Will we tax the air we breathe? Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. We are already taxing the air we breathe. The carbon dioxide in the air is being taxed thanks to the Liberal National Coalition putting in place an emissions trading scheme by name. And those who deny that it's in existence, if it quacks like a duck, waddles like a duck, and looks like a duck, it's a duck. There's an emissions trading scheme in place in this country now, started last July 1st. At this time, in Australia, we are facing increasing competition from the United States. President Trump in America is going to cut tax, and not just fiddle with it, he is going to cut tax for companies and personal taxes dramatically. And then we have the other side of the issue, and that is the waste of taxpayer funds. Here we're going to have a subsidy that is going to require more taxpayer funds, and that will increase taxes or cut back on other services. How many jobs will be destroyed in this country to pay for this? Window dressing. So moving from the complexity of our taxation system, let's look at the complexity of our regulatory system. And we all know, again, the more we regulate things, the less you get of them. We have red tape, the bureaucracy. Everyone is familiar with that. That is choking our industry, choking our employment. Then we have green tape, pseudo-environmentalism gone mad. And yes, we see people agreeing, and everyone understands, well, almost everyone understands what green tape does. Pseudo-environmentalism, fancy campaigns dressed up, they're just political games. And then we have another colour, emerging in this country. It's actually been underway for 20 years or more. Blue tape. And that is the tape, the bureaucracy that has been brought in by the UN. We have the UN pushing biodiversity, in which fungus, plants, critters, bugs, animals are treated as superior to humans and given priority to humans. And in the name of biodiversity, farmers' property rights, coastal residents have their land and property rights stolen. That is a cost to industry. Just ask the farmers of Queensland who've had their farmers' property rights stolen. Then we have another form of blue tape from the UN, sustainability. And the funny thing is, according to the UN, their sustainability programs are only sustainable with subsidies, meaning they're not sustainable. So that's how they get in place regulations to take control of people's lives, where we can live, what we can do, what we can't do, how we can travel, how we can eat. Almost everything is in their sights. And then we have the UN's climate change claims, never based on empirical evidence. The UN's latest report contains, just as the previous reports contained, one key chapter, one core chapter, claiming warming and attributing it to human production of carbon dioxide. Nowhere in that chapter is there any empirical evidence that human carbon dioxide affects the climate and needs to be cut. Nowhere. In its key chapter, no evidence anywhere in their reports. And yet all the groups in this parliament have swallowed that myth. The RET is based on that myth, killing industry, killing jobs. More window dressing to appear to be doing the right thing by our planet, when it is actually harming the environment, harming the creation of jobs, harming people's lifestyle. Again, billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars wasted on window dressing. And people in this Senate know, when I'm looking at them, that there is no evidence for this. And this window dressing then creates pretend jobs. Let's get back to basics. Let's look at our immigration quantity and cut it back so that we can increase the employment through real jobs. We have people now who are underworking 1 day a week, 1 hour a week, and they're treated as employed. Then we have immigration in terms of the quality. And look at the visas, the 457 visas that are stealing people's jobs. Rural farmers in southwest Queensland, where I listened to people just a few weeks ago across southwest Queensland, see unemployed people in their regional towns and yet can't get labourers, can't get workers. Worse, due to the taxation system and due to the regulations, mums and dads have to be the entire workforce for their farms. Massive investment in capital, at risk, in a variable market, variable weather, and they have to do all the work. All the work. They can't afford to hire anyone because of the regulations. People would love to hire people, but it just becomes too onerous with the regulations and too expensive with the taxation. And we're going to have a lot more to say about this in Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party as we march towards a Queensland election. Again, farmers are being hurt by window dressing. All taxpayers are being hurt by window dressing. In this specific bill, Madam Acting Deputy President, where is the value for money? Where is the value for money? We have an apprenticeship scheme which the leader of our party, Senator Hanson, will be discussing in more detail. But I ask now, where is the cost-benefit analysis for this bill? Why does the government expect us to just merely pass this bill when it has given us no cost-benefit analysis, no financial and economic analysis, no financial and economic justification, not even some qualitative justification? We can't even understand the thinking that goes on. How can they possibly convince people, sell people on this when there is no salesmanship going on? Where is the accountability that comes from having a cost-benefit analysis that not only justifies expenditure, it then enables something to be measured against it? The government has rarely given any cost-benefit analysis, and yet that's their fundamental responsibility. And the people in the Labor Party and the Labor Party and Greens coalitions were even worse at this. Again, window dressing, no cost-benefit analysis. We need to stand up for taxpayers in this country, and that is what we're doing. We're calling out the government and the opposition parties for putting our country, after 7 decades, in a deplorable position. More window dressing. That's what we see, window dressing, decades of window dressing. And then we come across the ultimate window dressing. I touched on it a minute ago. We are wrecking energy in this country. We are wrecking the energy industry, and that is wrecking all industries, service industries, manufacturing industries, rural industries, mining industries. We have, on an app, we can get up the cost of electricity at any one day, any one time. Today, we have Queensland, the state with the best coal reserves, the best quality coal reserves in the world, abundant quantities of coal, and it has an electricity price of $13,000 per megawatt hour. 13,000. That is mimicking South Australia. And while we're doing that, we're sending electricity south to New South Wales because these pseudo-markets that have been created by both sides of politics in this country are destroying and enabling people to game the system. South Australia is being destroyed. Manufacturing is being decimated in that state. Victoria is about to shut down 20% of its electricity supply. What will happen then to South Australia? What will happen then to Victoria? When they come looking for power from New South Wales and Queensland, our prices will go up in Queensland. It is a disaster, and it is making employment expensive, highly expensive. It is making employment unreliable. It is making industry unreliable. Why? Because we have subsidies piled on regulations, piled on pseudo-markets, piled on vested interests, piled on renewable energy targets, piled on renewable subsidies, piled on political interference. Destruction, destruction, destruction. And this is a reversal of history. The secret to lifting billions, it never happened before in the history of humanity. Billions of people have been lifted out of poverty by cheap energy. It started 167 years ago with the advent of the Industrial Revolution. And the key to that was hydrocarbon fuels, coal and later oil. And they provided high-quality, high-energy density fuels that dropped the price of energy, and that dramatically increased productivity, and that dramatically increased prosperity. And from that came the protection of the environment. The whales, instead of being chased to provide lighting fuel, are now secure because we have coal to provide lights. We don't have to burn the timber in the forest, and that's the reason, because we now use coal. We now have 30% more forestry area in every major developed continent, thanks to coal and oil. We need to go back to Sir Joe's days when energy was amongst the cheapest in the world, when business flourished and employment flourished. Instead, we get the coalition government giving us window dressing. No cost-benefit analysis, no accountability, no value for money. Yet another churn, the money going from the right pocket of the taxpayer into the left pocket of the taxpayer. And we have increasing employment, underemployment. It all comes back to tax, Madam Acting Deputy President. Instead of window dressing, let's get down to the root cause of what is keeping people out of work long term. Let's fix the tax system. We do not support this bill.
Thank you very much, Senator.